Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Friday, the 21st of November. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. Russia's foreign minister says North Korea is ready to resume stalled international talks on its nuclear program without preconditions. He also says President Putin wants to hold a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. US President Barack Obama is announcing what he hopes will be a legacy-defining plan to transform US immigration policy, sparing up to 5 million people from deportation. Plus, all the latest games, hardware and gadgets are on show at Korea's largest gaming exhibition, G-Star 2014. But we start this morning with news that Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed his willingness to hold a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. This following talks in Moscow between Russia's foreign minister and a top North Korean envoy. Our Kwon-swa has the details.
As soon as Kim Jong-un's special envoy Choi Dong-hae's plans to visit Russia were announced, speculation lit up about a potential summit between the leaders of North Korea and Russia. On Thursday, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov confirmed what many had suspected. Russian President Vladimir Putin wants one-on-one talks with the North Korean leader. Both sides will now work on arranging a suitable date for the summit. Speaking to reporters after his closed-door discussions with Choi, Lavrov also said North Korea had expressed a willingness to return to the long-stalled international talks on its nuclear arms program.
Pyongyang is ready to restart the six-way nuclear talks without preconditions, on the basis of a joint statement issued in 2005. We fully support this decision, and will also be working with all concerned parties, including the United States, Japan, and South Korea, to seek common trust for the resumption of the negotiations.
The six-party talks have not been held for almost 6 years. North Korea withdrew from the negotiating table in late 2008 after restarting its nuclear enrichment program. Thursday's talks also focused on the two countries' economic partnership. The officials discussed Russian companies' participation in the inter-Korean Kaesong industrial complex and a joint project that would modernize North Korea's railway system. Lavrov says North Korea is ready to open lines of communication with South Korea on the project if everything goes smoothly. Kwon-swa, ARIRANG News.
And as a follow-up to Soa's report there, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has criticized a resolution by a United Nations human rights body urging the referral of the North Korean leadership to the International Criminal Court for alleged crimes against humanity. At that news conference in Moscow on Thursday, Lavrov said the step was confrontational and counterproductive. In Tuesday's vote at the UN, Russia voted against referring the North to the ICC. The Russian minister said that if the goal is to help countries like North Korea fulfill their human rights obligations, dialogue needs to be more professional and less politicized. Now, South Korea is formulating a plan of action after the recent disappearance of a North Korean student in Paris. Seoul's foreign ministry says it's in close consultations with French authorities to assess the credibility of this case in order to see what needs to be done next. The student, only identified by his family name Han, has been missing for more than 2 weeks now. There's speculation he's on the run after North Korean agents made an attempt to forcibly repatriate him. Han's father and aide to Jang Sung-taek, a once leading figure in the regime, is believed to have been purged recently. There are fears Pyongyang is attempting to rub out anyone with connections to Jang, who was executed late last year on charges of treason. The South Korean government is mulling over a former First Lady's request to visit North Korea. An official at Seoul's Unification Ministry says there are two key factors in the decision. A, the timing of Lee Hee-ho's trip, and B, who she plans to meet during her stay. There are concerns Pyongyang may use her trip for political purposes ahead of the third anniversary in December of former North Korean leader Kim Jong-il's death. Meeting with President Park Geun-hye last month, Lee, the widow of former President Kim Dae-jung, expressed a desire to visit Pyongyang so she could donate hand-knitted hats to North Korean children. Officials from the two Koreas are meeting at the border town of Kaesong on this Friday to discuss the details of her possible trip. Now, in a little under 3 weeks' time, leaders from 10 ASEAN countries will be in Korea for a very special meeting with President Park Geun-hye. The event will be held to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Korea's relations with ASEAN. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
The 2014 ASEAN-ROK Commemorative Summit will kick off in Busan on December 11th. The two-day meeting invites leaders from 10 Association of Southeast Asian Nations member countries, like Myanmar and the Philippines. Up for discussion are ways to expand cooperation between Korea and the ASEAN countries, as well as global issues such as climate change and disaster relief measures. Since establishing diplomatic ties in 1989, ASEAN has become Korea's second-largest trade partner and investment destination. The region is also one of the most popular vacation hotspots, with over 4 million Koreans visiting the bloc every year. The commemorative summit is expected to further bolster the relationship.
Last year, President Park Geun-hye proposed a vision for partnership for trust and happiness in defining Korea-ASEAN relations for the future. The commemorative summit will present a comprehensive blueprint to realize this goal and will be an opportunity to celebrate 25 years of friendship between Korea and ASEAN.
The leaders will engage in bilateral meetings and enjoy a welcoming dinner on the first day of the event. The ASEAN-ROK Commemorative Summit will take place on the second day, followed by a joint press conference. Hwang Sang-hee, ARIRANG News.
Now, back here in South Korea, and President Park Geun-hye has asked the ruling party leadership to swiftly pass bills aimed at boosting the domestic economy. This includes ratifying free trade agreements with Australia, Canada, China and New Zealand. The president also talked about what was discussed at the G20 summit in Brisbane, Australia last weekend. She said that Korea's economic innovation plan was praised by many world leaders and added that political support and cooperation is crucial for revitalizing the economy and hopefully improving the people's livelihoods. Also up for discussion during this meeting was a bill on reforming the public employee pension system and next year's budget. The ruling party floor leader, in response, vowed to make sure the livelihood-related and budget bills pass Parliament before the December 2nd deadline. Right, well, let's get a check now on the global headlines we're following on this Friday morning in Seoul with Eunice Kim at the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
Hello, Mark.
President Barack Obama is, as we speak, addressing the United States in a televised address on a set of the most sweeping immigration reform measures the country has seen in decades. But these are going to be implemented by executive order, and this is putting him on a major crash course with the Republicans.
Right, Mark. Republicans, of course, have been insisting the action would exceed his presidential powers, while President Obama has maintained all along that his plans are within the confines of U.S. law. Now, President Obama did begin laying out his plan at the top of this hour from the White House, addressing the American people. President Obama saying his plans to fix a long-broken system are meant to refocus federal efforts on deporting felons and not families. The cornerstone of this sweeping reform is a new program that would offer work permits to an estimated 4.4 million undocumented immigrants who are parents of U.S. citizens or legal residents. The plan will also shift new resources to bolster border security, among plethora of other points. Now, hours earlier, incoming Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promised the president would regret choosing to act in, quote, defiance of the people, though the Republicans remain sharply divided on how far they would go to stop the reforms. More to come in our next newscast. Negotiations are in full swing in Vienna as a deadline looms to reach a deal on the Iranian nuclear program. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in Vienna Thursday evening to meet with his Iranian counterpart. Earlier in Paris, he said he was quite confident with the groundwork being laid ahead of the Monday deadline, adding that there is no talk of an extension yet. Representatives from 6 world powers have been engaged in talks with Iran for more than a year now to set limits on Tehran's nuclear program in exchange to ease or end economic sanctions that have crippled its economy. One of the conditions in discussion is permission for an IAEA probe team to investigate the program to confirm that Iran, in fact, did not use it to develop nuclear-armed missiles. A Swedish appeals court has upheld an arrest warrant issued by a lower court to extradite WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange for questioning. Assange is wanted in Sweden after 2 women there accused him of sexually assaulting them. The 43-year-old has denied the charges, and his lawyers have argued an extradition to Sweden would lead to an extradition to the U.S., where he faces charges of leaking government documents. In this latest case, lawyers had argued the 2010 detention order should be canceled because it could not be enforced while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. And finally, a website based in Russia is streaming images from thousands of webcams that have apparently been hacked. The BBC reports the website's database listed thousands of personal feeds from 152 countries, including baby monitors, bedroom cameras, and gym CCTVs. Nearly 4,600 listings were from the U.S. alone. The UK's Information Commissioner has urged Russian authorities to take immediate action to take down the site. But the website says it was not breaking any rules and wanted to spotlight poor user security. Experts urge users of webcams and other devices connected to the internet to change their default passwords to a unique one to avoid being hacked.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers 15 billion. Now, Korea's finance minister says structural reform is key to a full-fledged recovery in the country's real economy. Choi Kyung-hwan's comments came during a meeting with the heads of major economic research institutes on Friday. Choi also said Korea should take note from the situation in Japan, namely that the local economy has yet to pick up a solid recovery momentum despite the government's very aggressive set of stimulus measures. He added that while the Korean economy is gradually improving from its sluggish second quarter growth, thanks to the government's expansionary policies, momentum could be much stronger. Korea's elite group of so-called super-rich has grown this year. The World Ultra Wealth Report, published by Swiss Wealth X and financial firm UBS, shows 80 more Koreans with a net worth of at least $30 million have been added to the so-called super-rich list, bringing the country's total to just under 1,500. Their combined worth reached $280 billion, and roughly 4 out of 10 of these rich people are self-made multi-millionaires. By country, the United States maintained its position on top of the list in terms of ultra-rich people. Korea ranked 23rd. Now, for the first time ever, Koreans are spending more on European cars than Korea's automakers make exporting their vehicles overseas. In particular, sales of German brands like BMW, Audi and Mercedes-Benz have gone through the roof, especially after Korea's free trade deal with the EU came into effect roughly 3 years ago. Our Shin Se-min reports.
A few years ago, European automakers called Korea an impossible market to crack. But this year, European exports to Korea are on a path to exceed Korean exports to Europe.
The nation's customs data shows the value of car imports from European countries was up 60% to over $4.5 billion in the first 9 months of the year, whereas Korea's car exports stood around $4.4 billion. Local sales of European cars have been on the rise, becoming so popular that some auto retailers have had to put customers on a waiting list for a month because of limited supplies this year. So why this shift in customers' tastes?
Better gas mileage bought me.
The comfort of the ride is much higher, not to mention its widely known brand power.
And the Korea-EU free trade agreement that went into effect in 2011 lowered price tags, attracting more drivers in European brands. Just this year alone, foreign car sales in the country rose at a pace 10 times faster than Hyundai's. And the weakening Japanese currency has been undermining Korean makers' competitiveness.
The performance of Korean automakers in the European market is falling, and this trend is likely to continue. Even Hyundai and Kia Motors, which have manufacturing plants located in Europe for a better supply to the local market, are losing ground because of lowered competitiveness due to the weak yen.
But as the global auto industry is moving towards green cars, the analyst added Korean makers should improve fuel efficiency and move on to new technology quickly if they don't want to fall too far behind the competition. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, thousands of gamers have been lining up around the block to try out the latest soft and hardware releases at G-Star, Korea's largest gaming exhibition that takes place every year in Busan. Our Kim Jong-un is there, and she filed this report.
More than 600 companies from 35 countries are taking part in this year's G-Star Global Game Exhibition in Busan. One of the world's leading gaming companies at the event is Oculus. It has created Oculus Rift, a virtual reality system that enables users to control movements by turning their heads and moving their hands.
Okay. Last few decades, people have been experiencing their content with the 2D flat panel TVs. With a movie named Avatar, people have been watching the movie with the stereoscopic 3D. However, that wasn't enough. People weren't able to feel immersed into the real world.
Oculus believes virtual reality will evolve and forever change the way people play games, swap content, and communicate with each other.
So in the near future, when this virtual reality becomes really popular, we believe that people will be able to interact, people from overseas, in virtual world, and be able to see each other and be able to interact with each other. So you'll be more like virtual reality Skype.
The 4-day event is also a chance for businesses to expand their opportunities globally. US-based AppAnia, a provider of mobile market data and analytics for app stores, are taking part in order to reach out to Korean developers.
If you compare it to 5 years ago, you have a PC game, you have an online game. You want to launch in China, you need to look for partners there, look for servers there, look for payment solution there. Want to launch in US, you need to find another partner. But now these days, if you want to launch an app business, you just need to upload your app to Apple iTunes Store or Google Play, and then instantly you are selling worldwide.
A study released by the Korea Creative Content Agency estimated the country's gaming industry to be worth around $8.7 billion as of 2013. Also, Korea's mobile gaming content industry almost tripled in 2013 from the previous year to more than $2 billion. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News, Busan.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off with the second stage of the 2014-2015 ISU Speed Skating World Cup, which kicks off in Tennant starting today. And what a treat it's going to be for the fans here in the nation. Of course, with the international competition returning to Korea for the first time in 10 years, it's going to be a star-studded event for the next 3 days as 10 Olympic gold medalists are set to compete in the second stage of the competition. And for the fans here in the nation, the event will be free of charge, as they'll be able to watch some of the best in the world in speed skating. Meanwhile, highlighting the first day will be Olympic champion Lee Sang-hwa squaring off against Park Seung-hee, who recently switched to speed skating after a successful career as a short track skater. And now moving over to the Korean national football team will return to Korea on Thursday after finishing their November schedule with 1 win and 1 loss. And for head coach Uli Stilke, there's still a lot of work to be done. Now, after their matches against Jordan and Iran this month, manager Uli Stilke's current record stands at 2 wins and 2 losses so far with the national team. And as he prepares for the upcoming Asian Cup in January, the 60-year-old head coach stated that he will choose from the 28 players he's seen so far. With the lack of offense being a problem for the national team, manager Uli Stilke hopes to change all that, as he's expected to bring the team back together mid-December in preparations for the upcoming Asian Cup. And now shifting over to baseball, where after SK Wyverns Kim Kwang-hyun was posted for $2 million by the San Diego Padres, Kia Tigers ace Yang Hyun-jung was posted earlier this week. And this weekend, his highest bidder will be revealed. Now, with the MLB office receiving Young's intention of being posted on the 18th, several MLB teams are set to be bidding on the lefty pitcher, with the highest bidder set to be revealed this weekend on the 22nd. And while Kim Kwang-hyun was posted for a rather low fee of $2 million, Young's posting fee is expected to be around $4 to $5 million, with teams like the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees showing interest in the pitcher. Now, staying in baseball, shortly after Yankee legend Mariano Rivera visited Korea last week, another Major League legend in Randy Johnson came to Korea on Tuesday as part of his tour to visit some of the servicemen here in Korea. But on Thursday, he wrapped up his tour in the nation as he made a trip to the Panmunjom, the de facto border between North and South Korea, as he added a picture on his SNS page posing in front of the Bridge of No Return, calling it a surreal moment. Now, nicknamed the Big Unit, he finished his career with 303 wins with 4,875 strikeouts, winning 5 Cy Young Awards in 22 years in the majors. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good Friday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-yeon here with your latest weather updates. Well, I hope you enjoyed a nice autumn day yesterday, and it's shaping up to be another beautiful day today. Temperatures are on the rise, and daytime highs will elevate even a few notches higher than yesterday, getting up to mid to upper teens in many areas. Well, morning fog is gradually burning off, and clouds will be hanging out the peninsula, but we'll get to enjoy a good amount of sunshine for the most of the time. So again, the whole nation can expect to have a pleasant Friday afternoon. And with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. So daily low in Seoul started out at really mild at 5. Then the daytime high will rise to 14, while Daegu and Gwangju will top out at 16 and 15, and Busan will climb to 18 this afternoon. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island will be getting up to 16, and Daejeon and Dokdo should see a highs of 15 later on. But sprinkle is in the forecast for the capital area late in the evening, but it will be a very light one. As we can see, it will become bright and mild again for the weekend, making a perfect conditions for any outdoor activities that you have planned on. In fact, the weather for the rest of November looks to be promising, as there shouldn't be no significant changes in our temperatures. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. We'll be back with our next newscast at noon Korea time. Until then, goodbye.